Oh, it's a phenomenal book. Get that book. Warren Rubenstein sent me a couple copies. I think he read my blog, and I talked about him at one point somewhere. I forget where, but anyway, he emailed me and sent me a couple of books that he wrote it with George. And phenomenal book. He would just watch Hogan for hours and hours and hours and try to figure out what he was doing. Because he said Hogan had a controlled and powerful golf swing.
Yeah.
He says in the book, it looked to me that if you didn't hit him anywhere, you hitting something, in other words, you couldn't push him over. He was in an athletic position. It looked wobbly.
Yeah.
And then he said, as for me, I wasn't falling over, but I was continually rolling over onto the outside of my left foot and left heel. So was everybody else. Everybody except Hogan, that is. He was dead solid flat on that foot to finish at his swing. He just tried to copy the positions he was getting into, and in 1960, he said he had a breakthrough in this book he talked about. In 60, he was hitting balls, and he just said, well, I want to hit balls like a machine. If my head was cut off, how would I hit it? And he just had a breakthrough that the head has nothing to do with the golf swing.
Yeah.
It just goes where the body takes it. So it's a really great book.
Cool.
Get it, you'll love it.
Cool. That's great. I'm glad to know about that. It's interesting because I think I saw what you're describing about how people get wrong onto their left foot. They're not able to step onto their left foot and unwind their right side. And that's what you showed in Tiger's, those pictures of Tiger where he's, he slid left and he's got his left elbow pointed at the target and he's not unwinding his right side, which he did so great when he was younger.
Oh, yeah. He did it perfect when he was working with Butch. And by the way, all the Harmon brothers are great coaches. Why? Claude Harmon was one of Hogan's best friends. Don't you think he's going to tell his best friend everything he learned?
Yeah.
Sammy?
Yeah.
He just took it and just gave it to his kids. So that's why they're so darn good. They know all this stuff, And that's why he got so darn good.
Well, it's interesting.
Talent has a little bit to do with it, too.
Well, that's another one of my questions, that sometimes people, I think, don't really understand if they've never played with pros how naturally talented those guys are, which is why some of them can have such terrible fundamentals and still play okay for a while. My dad and my brother both played in the NFL, and so I've been around some, great athletes throughout my life, and then, I've been married to Colbert's daughter for a long time. People just don't really get that, those people are thoroughbreds to begin with.
Absolutely.
But having said that, I still feel like that there's so much that the average person can gain from fundamentals. How do you speak to that difference of, people always wanting to copy a pro, and as you say in many of your posts, oftentimes the pros don't actually know how they swing. But then secondly, a pro is dealing with so many more natural gifts than the average golfer.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And the approach is the same. I mean, I'd be working, telling the tour player the same thing I'm telling the beginner.
Yeah.
Obviously the tour players play golf, they find a way to score. But you're right, they start working on the wrong things, it eventually gets them. And then they're just counting on their short game all day long, week in and week out, and that's kind of tough.
Yeah.
But you gotta hit it straight and long out there, and the great ones always have done that. When their swings are good, they don't have to get it up and down from crazy spots.
Right. Or a lot more rarely.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, it's interesting. I guess the speculation on Tiger, I don't know if you want to comment on this, but certainly people are interested. you know, you said watching Tiger's back disintegration was kind of like as obvious as watching the sunrise. And I know when I slowed his swing down, I couldn't figure out how his vertebrae weren't just snapping out of his spine. But it's hard for me to imagine how he's not going to continue to have trouble unless he's willing to make a swing change. But he seems to be dead set on staying with his coach.
Yeah, that's the problem. You know, I think if the kid got away from everybody and just tried it on his own for a while, he'd get better.
Right.
He just needs to get away from Foley, because Foley is just a stacked and tilt guy with a bunch of mackerel grades in there as well. And I know Mac. He taught out at the range I was out at in Palm Desert, and another story of a phenomenal swing, perfect golf swing. He just didn't do a dang thing he said he did. I mean, he was out there, never forget, one day with this beautiful little Asian gal that was taking lessons from him. He was actually, as she would swing through the target, he would pull her hair away from the target, and I thought he was going to snap her back in half.
Oh, my gosh.
And he would do that, over and over and over again. And it's just so far from what Mac did.
Yeah.
It's stunning that these guys would teach that stuff.
It really is.
And then, you know, then Plummer and Bennett, they had a pretty good stable there for a while, didn't they? Now, if anybody sees Plummer and Bennett coming along, they run the other way.
Except, you know, what's so sad is...
Still didn't last long.
No, right, but amateurs still know that, and there's so many amateurs that still read their old golf magazines, and I know guys, you know, at the club where I play that are still trying to work on stack and tilt, and I think to myself, how is that possible that you think that'll work?
Yeah, how do you, you can't, they teach you to go to the target in the backswing and fall away from it as you swing through. It's just, it's really odd. I don't know why what swings are they looking at thinking that's correct? I don't know.
Well, you know,
you look at you look at the Hogans, the Speeds, the Tigers, the great players throughout the years. Your Hanukkah, Stacey Lewis now. I think the best swings that copy on tour right now is Jimmy Walker, Adam Scott, Stacey Lewis, Tom Watson, and Bernard Longer.
Yeah.
They all let the head, like George Dixon was talking about, they let the head flow a little to the right.
Yeah.
You know, and then from there, they go to the target.
Yeah.
And those elbows are down and together on both sides of the ball. They're just perfect swing. They just look a little different doing it. Stacey looks totally different than Adam, but they're the same swing.
Yeah, you know, Harmon had a drill for Adam when Adam was working with him where he would start his setup by cocking his wrists straight down the target line to begin the swing. And so there's some things like that where it seems like Harmon advocates getting the club out of center at first. Then, of course, at the top of your backswing, it's back in center. But for me, that was a bit confusing because I would get the club behind me sometimes that way. But I guess that's one of the things I wanted to ask you is that, you know, Colbert said to me that, you know, when you keep the ball covered, in other words, if the club is square throughout your swing, you can start down from anywhere in your backswing and hit it. And so that's why he could hit a half swing or a three-quarter swing or any version of that. And he always said, I hit it with my center, my sternum. So my distance is purely based on how fast my sternum is going through the ball. But that idea seems to be lost on a lot of current pros and certainly on a lot of teachers.
Yeah, it's a shame. I mean, you hear it all the time. I can't tell you how many times you watch a tournament on TV and one of the players has a 60-yard shot or 70-yard shot, and the announcer goes, "Watch this. This is all on them." And then you look at their feet and legs; they're using their legs. Sure.
Sure.
You know? And they're not standing there just running their arms, keeping their body still.
Sure.
So,
sure.
But I do see the good players doing what they should be. I mean, they're covering the ball. They're doing what Colbert was talking about. Because Colbert, you know, just before he got on the senior tour, he was announcing for a while.
Yeah.
And he knew Jimmy was right on everything, but in the short game, he was a little confused. And then he said the announcing really helped him because he was watching these guys hitting the short shots, pitching, chipping, that type of thing. And he said, you know, Jimmy, you're right. They cover everything.
Yeah.
They cover the ball.
Yeah.
You know, and he said it really helped him by sitting up in the booth announcing for a while and watching what these greats do. And you know what he did when he first turned 50, man? He was a man out there for 3-4 years.
Yeah, I mean, I got to see him play a lot at those points, and I got to play with him a fair amount a lot around that time. And yeah, it was something to see. It really was.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, you know, I guess if I had another question, it would just mainly be, you know, if there's anything else you feel like is going on in the golf world that you'd like to mention. I know we certainly have, like I said, appreciated your posts, and any time that you bring a current issue to our attention, we've enjoyed it so much. So I guess that's the main reason I wanted to talk with you, was just feeling like there's just not as much information from the school you're from out there on the internet and that kind of thing as maybe we would wish. But as you said, it's not just a head knowledge thing. You have to do it with experience. But having said that, is there more you'd like to mention or anything that's kind of burning in your mind these days?
I think the thing is just looking at these players, understanding that the elbows never go above the shoulders.
Yeah.
You know, the backswing and the through swing. They just keep. That's why I work with a lot of, especially kids. They're so flexible, man. They want to get those arms so far away from them, and you just gotta get them set up correctly, get the elbows below the shoulders, or at least no higher than shoulder height in the backswing.
Yeah.
And the through swing.
Yeah.
And then they're gonna start using their core better. If you make them do that, you know. Kids and beginners that are athletes are easy. Those are the easiest lessons. I love having an athlete because, you know, first get them on video and ask them if they play tennis or baseball or anything, any other sport. And if they're pretty good at another sport, you got them. They're simple. You know, you can really relate it to these other sports.
Well, yeah, and their flexibility is so good.
Yeah.
I mean,
I know it's been, like one question you had was on distance craze. Like, you know, I mean, I want you to tear the cover off the ball, but you got to be in the right position to do it. And you know, and then I think stretching and strengthening that's so important.
Right. You said something about, I think, a version of yoga, or I can't remember. It was one of your articles. And after I had a herniated disc in my back because I wasn't doing enough stretching, and I'd also gotten some other couple crazy things going on my swing. But, you know, it's been amazing to really work on stretching. And the back person I work with has, you know, been an athlete her whole life and broken her own back twice. And so she's really helped me to understand there's going to be some pain either way. Stretching can be painful and not stretching can be painful, but the not stretching is way more painful down the road. And yet it's amazing how many golfers I know who the first thing they'll say to me is, man, I hate stretching. I'm not going to do it, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. You know, the older you get, the more you have to do it. But you know, the older you get, a lot of times you don't want to do it.
Right.
But stretching, I think stretching is the most important thing for golf, because really, if you're doing it, if you've got a good stretching routine, you are kind of working out a little bit too. You know, if you can do one thing, just stretch.
Yeah.
For speed.
Sure.
You know?
Well, it's good for blood pressure too.
What's that?
It's good for blood pressure too.
Oh, absolutely, yeah, no doubt.
Well, I sure appreciate your time today. I don't want to take too much more of it, but it's really great to know that you're doing what you do and that you teach who you teach, and we've just benefited a ton. And so I hope whenever the urge strikes you, you keep posting stuff. And if you ever want to throw an article our way to put out on our site, we'd also be happy to do that. I just feel like people Yeah, well, people I feel like really need to hear what you're saying if they want to get better.